We had one man who was very ill. It looked like he wasn't going to make it. I don't know. I won't mention his name. Should I? Do other people know his name? Do you want to mention it? He'll be proud. Go ahead. Tell him the story.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. President. Congressman Neil Dunn of Florida had some real health challenges, and it was very serious, and had a pretty grim diagnosis. And I mentioned it to the president, and I said, Congressman Dunn is a real champion and a patriot because he's still coming to work. And if others got this diagnosis, they would be apt to go home and retire. And
what was the diagnosis?
It was, I think it was a terminal diagnosis.
He would be dead by June.
Okay, that wasn't public, but yeah, okay. It was grim. That's what I was going to say.
On images of him struggling to stay awake at events, like this cabinet meeting in December, Trump says photographers caught him blinking.
You people are crazy. I'll let you know when there's something wrong. There will be someday. That's going to happen to all of us. But right now, I think I'm sharper than I was 25 years ago.
Hello and welcome, guys. Adam is here. Okay, so this is what happened yesterday. Not once, not twice. Over and over again, in press conference after press conference, Donald Trump stood in front of cameras and did something that no sitting president of the United States has ever done. He repeatedly referred to the governor of California as the President of the United States.
Tonight, we're looking into a story getting some buzz this week. It claims President Trump called California Governor Gavin Newsom the President of the United States. It's true.
The President of the United States, Gavin Newsom, admitted that he has learning disabilities, dyslexia.
Trump made the comment Tuesday while criticizing Newsom for admitting he has dyslexia. It's not clear if Trump misspoke about Newsom's title or was referring to him possibly becoming president in the future. But Newsom's press office pounced, releasing a mocking post that thanked Trump for making him president of the United States.
He called Gavin Newsom President Newsom. He called him President Newscom. He mocked the man he thinks is the president while standing at the podium of the actual presidency. And then he told reporters that he had been having conversations with former presidents about his disastrous Iran war, that one of them had called him to say, "I wish I did what you did, Donald."
President Trump has now said twice that he has spoken with a former U.S. president who he claims told him in a conversation that they wish they had done what the president is doing now with the war against Iraq.
I've spoken to a certain president, who I like, actually, a past president, former president. He said, I wish I did it. I wish I did, but they didn't do it. I'm doing it, yeah.
Which president?
I can't tell you that.
Every living former president immediately issued statements saying they had not spoken to him. Not one, not Clinton, not Bush, not Obama, not Biden. They all said the same thing. There is no record of any communication. So either Donald Trump is lying about conversations that never happened, or he is having conversations with people who do not exist.
But here's the issue. We checked with the offices of all of the living presidents, and here's what they told us. An aide for George W. Bush says that they haven't been in touch. An aide to Bill Clinton says that whoever Trump was referring to was not Clinton. An Obama aide says there have been no recent conversations between Barack Obama and Trump. And a source familiar with the matter said the former president Trump was referring to was not Joe Biden.
It's somebody that happens to like me, and I like that person who's a smart person. But that person said, I wish I did it. Okay, but I don't want to get into who.
Okay.
I don't want to get him into trouble. Maybe, hey,
I have a guess.
you know what? Yeah, I think you probably know. You know, it's interesting. And maybe he'd be proud. And I could even ask him that. Would you like me to reveal your name?
And the White House, for its part, hasn't offered any additional details.
Either way, the man who holds the nuclear codes is standing in front of cameras, calling the governor of California the president and talking to ghosts. And the war he started is burning everything down around him. Let me walk you through what happened yesterday because it was not a bad day. It was not a gaffe. It was not a senior moment that could be explained away by the press secretary with a carefully worded statement about fatigue. This was a public unraveling, a cognitive collapse captured on video, preserved for history, impossible to ignore. Donald Trump held multiple press conferences to talk about his war in Iran, the war that was supposed to be over in weeks, the war that was supposed to prove his strength. The war that has now dragged on for months with no end in sight, with casualties mounting, with allies abandoning the United States, with gas prices spiking and the economy teetering. He stood at the podium to project strength and confidence, to show the country that he was in control. Instead, he spent the entire day calling Gavin Newsom the president. The first time, it seemed like a slip. Maybe he was distracted. Maybe he was trying to mock Newsom and the joke just landed wrong. But then he did it again, and again, and again. President Newsom has learning disabilities. President Newsom is dumb. President Newsom, Governor Newsom, he's dumb. He was trying to insult the governor of California, and he could not remember that the governor of California is not the president of the United States. That is not a joke. That is not a clever rhetorical device. That is a man who has lost his grip on basic political reality. He does not know who is president and who is governor. He does not know who he is talking about or who he is talking to. And then came the conversations with former presidents. I spoke to a former president recently. I can't name him, but he said to me, "Donald, I wish I did what you did. I wish I had invaded Iran when I was president." A reporter asked which former president. Trump said he could not say. He said it would be disrespectful to name him. But every single living former president, every single one, issued statements within hours saying they had not spoken to Donald Trump. Clinton's office said there had been no communication. Bush's office said the same. Obama's office confirmed no contact. Biden's office was definitive. There is no record. So Trump either invented a conversation with a former president who does not exist, or he had a conversation with a former president and that former president is now lying about it. Both scenarios are equally devastating. If he invented it, he is lying to the country about conversations that never happened. If he really believes he had those conversations, if he really believes that a former president called him to praise his war, then he is experiencing a break from reality that cannot be explained by anything other than serious cognitive decline. CNN put together a compilation of Trump's contradictions from the same press conference. Within minutes, he said the exact opposite things. "We don't want any help from anybody in the Strait of Hormuz." Then, minutes later, "We need your help in the Strait of Hormuz." Who knew that was going to happen? Then, immediately, "We knew that was going to happen." Flip-flop. Contradiction. The same man saying two opposite things within the same breath. That is not someone changing his mind based on new information. That is someone who does not remember what he said 30 seconds ago. That is someone whose short-term memory is failing in real time, on camera, while he is supposed to be leading the country through a war. And then he started talking about the policy in the Middle East. Dig we must. He kept saying it. Dig we must. That is our policy. Dig. The reporters looked at each other. Nobody knew what he was talking about. Was he trying to say drill? Was he trying to say dig in? Was he trying to say something about digging trenches? Nobody knew. He did not know. He just stood there repeating the same phrase, dig we must, like it meant something, like it was a policy he had carefully crafted with his national security team. It was nonsense, gibberish. The sound of a man who has lost the ability to form coherent thoughts about the war he started. And then he turned to the health of a Republican congressman. Neil Dunn, a MAGA Republican from Florida, had been diagnosed with a terminal illness. Trump stood at the podium and started talking about it. Tell him, Mike. Tell him what was going to happen. He was going to be dead. He was going to be dead in a few months. But I saved him. Mike Johnson stood there, visibly uncomfortable, trying to signal to Trump that this was not public information, that the congressman's health was private, that HIPAA exists for a reason. Trump did not care. He kept talking. He kept revealing private medical information about a man who had not authorized him to share it. He kept talking about how he saved him, whatever that meant. And then he moved on, leaving behind a trail of violated privacy and confused reporters who had just watched the President of the United States announce a congressman's terminal diagnosis on live television. Marjorie Taylor Greene was standing nearby when Trump started talking about heaven. "I'm not going to make it to heaven," he said. "I'm not going to go to heaven." Marjorie Taylor Greene looked confused. She kept looking at him, trying to figure out what he was talking about. Was he having a religious crisis? Was he making a joke? Was he confessing something? Nobody knew. He just kept talking about how he was not going to heaven, how he was not going to make it, how the war would end when he felt it in his bones. When I feel it in my bones, the war ends. I'll know. I'll feel it. That is what he said. The war ends when he feels it in his bones. That is not a policy. That is not a strategy. That is the rambling of a man who has lost the ability to distinguish between governance and mysticism. And then, late at night, when most presidents are sleeping or working or doing anything other than what Donald Trump was doing, he started posting on Truth Social. He posted about Venezuela beating Italy in the World Baseball Classic. Wow, Venezuela defeated Italy 4-2. They're looking really great. Good things are happening to Venezuela lately. I wonder what this magic is all about. Statehood 51st, anyone? The war in Iran is raging. Americans are dying. Gas prices are spiking. The economy is in freefall. And Donald Trump is posting about Venezuela being good at baseball and suggesting they should become the 51st state. He was serious. He was not joking. He genuinely thought that a country that is the subject of his own sanctions, a country that he has been threatening to invade, should become a state because they won a baseball game. That is what was going through his mind at 11 o'clock at night while the war he started was burning out of control. Then he started posting about Greenland again. Earlier in the day, he had talked about conquering Cuba. "I'm going to take Cuba," he said. "I like it. I'm going to take it."
Peter?
When you say Cuba is next,
Cuba.
is Cuba, whatever you do with the military there, it seems like something. Will that look more like Iran or Venezuela?
Can't tell you that. I can tell you that they're talking to us. It's a failed nation. They have no money, they have no oil, they have no nothing. They have nice land. They have nice landscape, you know. It's a beautiful island. I think they have great people. You know, I know so many people from Cuba that were treated terribly, and they're over here and they became rich. They're very entrepreneurial people, very smart. I know a lot from Florida, especially. They're so.
While he was supposed to be managing a war in Iran, he was talking about conquering Cuba and taking Greenland. NATO allies are already threatening to leave the alliance because of him. European leaders are openly discussing whether the United States can still be trusted. And Trump is posting about acquiring Greenland and conquering Cuba like he is playing a video game. He posted about getting applause at a college football game from January. It was months ago. He was posting articles from January to prove that people applauded him during the national anthem. He was so desperate for validation, so hungry for any evidence that people still liked him, that he was reaching back months to find an article about a football game to post at midnight while his war was falling apart. And by the way, the article was about people applauding during the national anthem. Trump was trying to take credit for applause that was directed at the flag. He was stealing valor from the anthem itself. And then he posted about his chief of staff's breast cancer diagnosis. Susie Wiles had been diagnosed with early-stage breast cancer. Trump announced it on Truth Social before she had told anyone. He wrote that she had decided to take on the challenge immediately as opposed to waiting. What does that mean? Who gets a diagnosis of breast cancer and decides to wait? What was he even talking about? And then he wrote that during her treatment, she would be spending virtually full time at the White House, which makes him very happy. She had cancer, she needed treatment, she needed time off, and Trump was announcing that she would be spending more time at work, not less, that she would be working for him while she was sick, that her loyalty to him was more important than her health. That is not concern, that is ownership. That is a man who sees the people around him as tools to be used until they break. The Iranians are watching all of this. They are not missing a single frame. The foreign minister, Araghchi, posted on social media that Trump is delusional. He said Trump keeps claiming they are having phone conversations, that they are reaching out through intermediaries, that they are negotiating. He said there are no conversations. He said these are delusional people. The top Iranian commander said Trump's epic fury shows his epic fear. He said Trump cannot post his way out of this war. He said the man who thought he could bully Iran with tweets is now watching his presidency collapse while his mind collapses with it. The Iranians are watching the President of the United States deteriorate in real time, and they are laughing at him. The enemies of the United States are laughing at the man who holds the nuclear codes. And then Trump started talking about Cuba again. I want it. I'm going to take it. He said it like he was ordering a sandwich. He was not talking about diplomacy or negotiations or strategic interests. He was talking about taking a country because he wanted it. That is what he said. I'm going to take it. While he was losing a war in Iran, he was planning to start a war in Cuba. While American soldiers were dying in the Middle East, he was talking about conquering an island in the Caribbean because he liked it. He claimed he predicted 9/11. He said he predicted the Strait of Hormuz would be used as a weapon, and just like he predicted that, he predicted 9/11. He said he wrote a book about it. He said he warned everyone. CNN fact-checked it. Trump's 2000 book, The America We Deserve, mentions bin Laden once in passing. It does not predict an attack on the World Trade Center. It does not warn to take him out. It mentions him one time, briefly in passing. But Trump was standing at the podium, claiming he predicted the worst terrorist attack in American history. He was claiming credit for a warning he never gave, a prediction he never made, a foresight he never had. He started talking about his ballroom. The Strait of Hormuz was being threatened. Iran was closing shipping lanes. Oil prices were spiking. The global economy was teetering. And Trump started talking about the ballroom he was building. It'll be under budget, and I'm going to have onyx. I'm going to have onyx and stones that are incredible. Onyx. He was talking about the stones in his ballroom while the world was watching to see if he would start World War III. Golden drapes. We're going to put golden drapes. Nice golden curtains. That is what was going through his mind. That is what he thought the country needed to hear. Not a strategy for ending the war. Not a plan for bringing the troops home. Not a word about the soldiers who were dying. Golden drapes. Onyx. The ballroom he was building. And then, late at night, he posted about the Supreme Court. Paragraphs. Thousands of words. Attacking the justices who had ruled against him. The Supreme Court has ransacked our country. The Supreme Court has become little more than a weaponized and unjust political organization. The courts treat Republicans and me so unfairly. He posted about Mark Levin. He posted about Iran. He claimed every video coming out of Iran was AI, was fake, was manufactured to make him look bad. He threatened to go after anyone who did not write about the war the way he wanted them to. He said they would be charged with treason. He was threatening journalists with treason charges for reporting on the war he started. This is the man who has his finger on the nuclear button. This is the man who decides whether American soldiers live or die. This is the man who is supposed to be managing a war in Iran, a war that has already cost billions of dollars, already cost American lives, already destabilized the entire Middle East. And he is posting about baseball and Greenland and onyx and golden drapes. He is calling the governor of California the president. He is having conversations with former presidents who do not exist. He is forgetting what he said 30 seconds after he said it. He is revealing private medical information about cancer patients. He is threatening journalists with treason. He is claiming he predicted 9/11. How much longer? How much longer can this go on? The war is ruining his presidency. His health is ruining his mind, and the country is watching it happen in real time, unable to look away, unable to stop it, unable to do anything except watch the man who holds the nuclear codes deteriorate on camera while the world burns around him. The mask is gone. The handlers cannot save him. The teleprompter cannot save him. The press secretary cannot explain this away. This is what it looks like when a presidency collapses. Not with a bang. Not with a dramatic resignation speech. With a man standing at a podium, calling the governor of California the president, and talking about the onyx stones in his ballroom while the war he started consumes everything.